On this edition of No DQ&A video, I'm going to be talking about the CM Punk versus Steve Austin rumors. Where did they come from? Will this match actually take place? Also, I'll be talking about TNA Lockdown, as well as this past week's edition of Monday Night Raw from London, England. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 129 of No DQ&A video right here on youtube.com/NoDQCAW as well as NoDQ.com. Thanks as always for watching. We're coming off TNA Lockdown as well as Monday Night Raw from England. Got a lot of questions here, so let's get right to it. Did you see Kazarian's haircut at Lockdown? Yes, I did. Do you think TNA were taking the piss out of The Undertaker, or is it just that Kaz fancied a haircut? Also, what do you think about them having a lethal lockdown match first? Please answer on video. Regarding the haircut, I don't know if it was Kazarian's idea or if somebody in TNA told him to cut his hair, but regardless, it was a really bad idea. I think having the long hair was one of the few things that made Kazarian distinctive from other people, and when he came out there, nobody recognized him, and there's no reaction to him whatsoever. Of course, for those of you that watch Lockdown, you know that it wasn't just Kazarian that the people weren't reacting to. They were not into anything on that show. That was a terrible crowd. I mean, that was one of the worst crowds ever for a TNA event, in my opinion. Very depressing. They only drew about 2,000 people in the first place, but the people that were there were not into what they saw. And as far as having the lethal lockdown match open the pay-per-view, same thing. When you look back at the pay-per-view, it didn't matter which match was going to open the card because the crowd did not care. And I can understand why TNA wanted to open the pay-per-view with that match, because they wanted something hot to start the show off. So on paper, I think it was a decent idea, but like I said, it didn't matter because the crowd just didn't care about anything on that pay-per-view. And just very sad. Hey Aaron, love the show. What do you think about WrestleMania 28 drawing 1.3 million pay-per-view buys? Well, it just goes to show you that building up The Rock versus John Cena for a year was the right decision. We were questioning that, and judging on the ratings, the fact that Raw's ratings were down from the previous year, I mean, we weren't really sure what was going to happen with the buy rate, but as it turns out, it drew huge. And they accomplished exactly what they wanted to accomplish, the biggest WrestleMania of all time. And The Rock has a good argument now to say he was part of the biggest match of all time. So props to WWE on that. And hopefully this means in the future they will continue to do long-term building. I mean, perhaps a year is stretching it for future matches, but I would like to see more build-ups where they spend 6 months hyping up the match. I think that would do a lot, at least for the major pay-per-views like SummerSlam and Survivor Series. I think that's a good sign in terms of WWE doing things more on a long-term basis, because I think it's healthy for the company's long-term future, rather than trying to hotshot pay-per-view main events, which you could say they're doing that with Cena versus Lesnar. But I mean, that's a whole other argument right there with Cena and Lesnar, whether it was too soon or whether it's the right time to do it now. So, yeah, I think that that WWE did a great job promoting this pay-per-view, and I'm happy for them that they got the big number. Where did the CM Punk versus Steve Austin WrestleMania rumor actually come from? If anybody started the rumors about Steve Austin versus CM Punk, it was Steve Austin and CM Punk. I think it first started when CM Punk did an interview and he was asked about if he could have any dream match at WrestleMania, who would his opponent be? And Punk said Steve Austin, because Steve Austin was one of the guys he idolized when he was breaking into wrestling. And there's even a picture that's been floating online for years of CM Punk as a teenager with Steve Austin. So obviously CM Punk has always been a huge Austin fan, and Austin's a big fan of CM Punk's work. Austin has done interviews where he said that if he was going to come back for one more match, he would love to fight CM Punk. And they even teased something on WWE TV, I think, last year with Steve Austin and CM Punk. And also, the two of them have been throwing jabs at each other on Twitter. teasing a match. So definitely both of those guys have been fueling the rumors, and I think if Austin does come back, there's a very good chance it'll be against CM Punk. And you know, a lot of people ask me about Austin's neck, and Austin has said time and time again that his neck is okay, that if he had to wrestle again on a regular basis, he could. He even said that in a recent interview that his neck is okay and he can still go. So I think it's just a situation where Austin wants to come back and make the biggest impact possible. You know, all the stars have to align, as Austin would say. So I mean, what that means is, you know, he's going to want the big paycheck, obviously, and he's going to want the right opponent and the right match, because he wants to be able to go out there and have a great match and be as close to 100% Steve Austin that fans remember him as possible. So if all that happens, I think we will see Austin back, and I still think there's a good chance of that happening. Hopefully at WrestleMania 29, because the longer they wait, I think the less likely it is that match actually takes place. So hopefully we'll get it soon. Please answer this in video. The crowd on Raw tonight is great, a 5 out of 5. For example, when Punk came out, they practically exploded. Do you think this means that Raw is putting on better shows or what? It doesn't mean that Raw is putting on better shows. I mean, last week in Washington, D.C., they did that really hot angle with John Cena and Brock Lesnar, and the crowd just wasn't into it that much. And I think it's just the fact that England has always been a great crowd for WWE, like Canada, you know, like Toronto and place in Edmonton and Calgary and Chicago and New York. I mean, London's always been a great WWE town, and the UK fans are always very enthusiastic about the product. So that's really all that means, and doesn't mean that Raw was a great show by any means. I mean, I think it was decent. I think that I thought the best thing on the show was the Brock Lesnar promo, and that obviously had nothing to do with the crowd, and it was just Lesnar in a pre-taped promo. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely a great crowd though, and you know, they're really into Daniel Bryan as expected. Hey Aaron, what do you think about WrestleMania matches being reused again for Extreme Rules? To me, those feuds should have been settled at WrestleMania. I can't see Punk and Jericho having an even better match than they did than WrestleMania. Well, I can. First of all, regarding Extreme Rules having rematches, I do agree with you on that point. I think that feuds should be settled at WrestleMania, and Extreme Rules or whatever the next pay-per-view is should be about starting new feuds going into the summer. That's just my personal opinion. But WWE has been doing this format for well over a decade now. I mean, probably going back to 1999. I know they did the Backlash with Steve Austin versus The Rock and Big Show versus Mick Foley. So they did continuations of WrestleMania programs there. And it's worked for them. So, I mean, it's hard to really put it down because it's been successful up until the last couple of years, of course. But then again, no pay-per-views have really done that well in recent years. So it's hard to say there. And then regarding CM Punk and Jericho having a better match, I mean, in a no-holds-barred match or no DQ, whatever the hell it is, I mean, Chicago Street Fight, Cena and Lesnar is a no-holds-barred. I mean, it's all the same thing. Kind of silly there. But anyways, the fact is they're doing a match where they have no limitations, so there's going to be lots of brawling. It's in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown, so the crowd heat in the Allstate Arena is just going to be incredible. So I mean, that right there is going to make that, I think, a better match than WrestleMania, because as we saw at WrestleMania, the crowd was burned out by the time CM Punk and Chris Jericho came out there, and that really hurt the match. So I think the crowd heat will help this rematch a lot, and the fact that they can go in there and just go all out, I think it's going to be a really great match. That'll wrap things up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. We got news coming out of Lockdown, got news coming out of Raw, we got videos, we got polls. I've posted, for anybody who's interested, I've posted the history of NoDQ.com going all the way back to 1998 when it first launched as WWFWCW.com. So check those out in the columns section, and we'll see you next time.